I work in the Center for Career and Workforce Development, as does Bethany Campbell, who's on with us too. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the NCAL FAME program that we have at Wallace State. Bethany Campbell is she is our FAME coordinator and success coach for the college. And Bethany is new in her role. So in the future, any questions that you have about this program, you can always reach out to me, but Bethany is probably going to be your point of contact going forward. On this particular call, we also have a couple of our FAME AMTs. So those are current students who are in the program that you'll get to hear from while you're on the call. And they can kind of share their perspective with you as well. So just real quick, a little bit about me. I've been with Wallace State Community College just a little over 2 years. I've been in the same department the entire time that I've worked here, and I do come from about 6.5, 7 years of experience in education. My role here on campus, obviously I've been involved with the FAME program, but also any form of work-based learning. So I try to assist all of our current college students as well as our recent graduates. We work with our alumni too in anything that is related to job placement, career development, professional development sometimes, and just the job search in general. So our office extends opportunities to students if they need help with their resume, with interviewing, and any type of work-based learning activities like internships and apprenticeships. And so FAME is, for lack of a better word, it is an apprenticeship. It's a certain type of apprenticeship model, and I'll explain why that's different from other ones you may see. But so Callie and Jan that we have on the call right now, have either one of you heard of FAME before? Do you know what this is at all, or you're just learning about it for the first time? And it's okay if if you're not able to answer. I know some people are probably multitasking because I do that all the time too. Looks like Callie is saying yes. She's already worked with Calhoun and Northwest Shoals, so that's awesome. At least that tells me that you have a little bit of familiarity with FAME. So FAME, what FAME stands for is the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing and Education. And the FAME program is a national program. In fact, there's an organization called FAME USA and NAM, which is the National Association of Manufacturing, who've come together, and they kind of are who keeps us in place and keeps our structure and helps us figure out what the curriculum should be. The FAME program itself in the past, it used to be owned, I guess you would say, and led by Toyota. So this is a program that was launched in Toyota in a manufacturing environment, and it was just such a great program. They saw the need to train a lot of individuals and bring them on board, and they felt like the way that they put this program together was just going to work so well, and it did. And so what ended up happening is Toyota ended up reaching out to other manufacturers, not necessarily just automotive manufacturing, but all types of industry, and said, hey, let us show you this model. What do you think? And so luckily, a group of folks came together. This originated in Kentucky, and they started forming what we see now today, which is the FAME program. And our particular chapter here at Wallace State Community College is called NCAL FAME, so that stands for North Central Alabama FAME. And we are in our second year of having a FAME program. So we're newer to FAME than Calhoun is. Calhoun Community College is another college locally who has been involved with FAME for the last 6 or 7 years, I think now. Northwest Shoals Community College launched a FAME program at the same time we did, as well as Gadsden State. And now we have Bishop State and Southern Union who are launching programs. So this is something that we, as the Alabama Community College System, anticipate spreading across the state. And there's a huge need for this program. The FAME program itself is geared towards students and individuals who are planning to have a career in maintenance. So working in a manufacturing environment, and using skills like that you would learn in electronics technology or mechatronics. They're looking at these individuals as advanced maintenance technicians, and you'll hear us say often AMTs. You see on the screen up there where it says Jerry Merckx, I've got two FAME AMTs right there, and so we refer to them as AMT versus students. So the AMTs, they're trying to get a position in maintenance somewhere, and this is kind of a stepping stone for them, especially if they're planning to go into a leadership role. While they're here at the college and they're enrolled in the FAME program, they are working towards an associate's degree in maintenance or in mechatronics or in electronics technology. It just really depends which college that they're attending, because each college calls it something a little bit different. The idea behind it is that they're going to walk away and be able to say that they have skills not only in mechatronics and electronics technology, but also they touch a little bit on welding, a little bit on machining, and a little bit on engineering technology, understanding and being able to read blueprints and schematics. And so they end up being a very well-rounded and multi-skilled technician, which is very important. In the area that we're located at here at Wallace State, we're right in the middle of Coleman County. And so from Huntsville to Birmingham, the companies that are a part of our FAME chapter, they're not just automotive, they're all different types of industries. And I'll talk about some of those companies so you have an idea. This particular program right now, like I said, we're in our second year. So that means that we have two cohorts of students. So we have one group who started in the fall of, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the fall of 2019. Is that right? I think. Yes, maybe. Yes. And so they are getting ready. They're close to being finished. Their final semester in the program is going to be in the spring. We have another cohort that just started this fall, so they will not graduate until spring of 2022. So the FAME program is a work-based learning program or an apprenticeship model where students or AMTs are going to school. They go to school 2 days a week. And then the rest of the week, ideally 3 days a week or at least 24 hours a week, they're in a work environment. And what they're doing in the workplace matches up to what they're learning in school. The curriculum is laid out in a way that it's progressive, so they're building on their skills each semester. The FAME program itself also, in addition to the students taking classes that they would take for an associate's degree, each semester there's also a pillar of FAME that's kind of built into what they're learning. So for example, the first semester is the main focus is on safety. So we call those in the FAME program MCE. So MCE 1 is safety. They also cover other MCEs like 5S, lean manufacturing, machine reliability, and problem solving. So these are all very, very important skills specifically designed for someone who's going into a manufacturing environment, particularly in maintenance. Now, with the FAME program, not everybody is eligible to participate in FAME. That's one thing that does set it apart from other apprenticeships. Students have to be eligible. They have to qualify for this. All right. So how would a student become eligible? If they are a senior in high school, that's the perfect time for them to start applying. There's an application that they would complete online at our website, which right now our application for Wallace State was housed at www.wsfame.com, but it's in process of being moved to a new location, which will be www.ncalfame.com. Is that correct, Bethany? I think, yes. Okay. So the application is going to be moved for those of you who have seniors who are in high school right now. But students who are sophomores and juniors, this is a good time to be thinking about this, because what we look at, obviously, on their application, we pay attention to their ACT scores. If they have scored an 18 or higher in their English and their math, that's an automatic qualifier for them, because that tells us that they are college ready. That means they can go into English 101 and Math 100 without remediation of any sort. If they've scored below that, that's still okay. Then we look at a couple other things. We look at their GPA. They may have to take a placement test when they come here to Wallace and try to qualify that way. We also look at, what did the student do when they were in high school? Did they participate in any type of STEM or tech, like applied technology related stuff, whether it be a club or organization or coursework? So did they take some kind of machining or mechatronics class? Did they participate in Skills USA? Were they in the robotics club? Stuff like that. We try to look at it and see, is this program actually a fit for that student? Even then, you might have students who don't do those things, and that doesn't mean that they're not a fit. Honestly, sometimes I try to ask students, are you pretty good at math? Are you comfortable with science? Do you like working with your hands? Do you like understanding why things work and how to take something apart and put it back together? If those things sound like you, then the FAME program might be a fit, because honestly, that's what a maintenance technician is doing. They're problem solving. They're doing preventative maintenance on equipment in the plant. They are troubleshooting it when it breaks down and trying to fix the situation. They're thinking outside of the box. They have to be able to disassemble things and put them back together quickly to keep production moving in a plant. So all of those things, I think, students who are in 10th or 11th grade, they may have no idea that this is a career that they might choose. But as a counselor or as a career coach, or a mentor to those students, those might be things that you consider when you're talking to your students. So they go online, they apply, they have to obviously send us a copy of their transcript. They're going to upload some other documentation that we might ask for, like their ACT scores. And then they also write just a short little essay, nothing over the top, a few paragraphs about why they may want to be in FAME, why they want to do this. And all of that information is gathered then by Bethany, the FAME coordinator, and that's usually around the end of March, beginning of April timeframe. Okay, so then when your students are in their senior year and they graduate in May, there's this whole process that takes place where these students get put into a candidate pool. And our chapter employers, which we'll talk about in just a sec, they go through kind of a football draft process with the students. They look at all the candidates and they make selections based on, who is right for their company. And they actually interview all of the students in a panel interview setting, which is a little scary for some of the students, especially if they've never done a panel interview or never interviewed at all. So that might be something to mention to them when they're in the application process. But that's something that Bethany and I could even help them with. The FAME students that we had in our first cohort, several of them came here and did like a practice interview and had me help them with their resume, and that's no problem. That's what we're here for. So our employers who participate in the FAME program and sponsor these students, like I said, it's a range of industry. So we have companies out of the Huntsville area, YKTA, which is it's a supplier, it's a tier 1 supplier to Toyota Mazda. So, and I anticipate that we'll probably have other companies just like them who join, because there's so many of them coming to the Huntsville, Madison, Decatur, and Coleman areas. So they are an automotive supplier. We also, Jack Daniel Cooperage, which is out of Trinity or Decatur, they are a part of our FAME chapter. So they manufacture whiskey barrels, which is really cool. The students seem to get really excited about that when we tell them that that's one of the companies. It's an awesome process to go and see if you haven't already. We have companies out of Coleman, obviously, who participate. So that's Utaka. They are also a automotive supplier. They're connected more with Honda, though. That's their parent company. And then RWC, which is in Coleman, they manufacture all kinds of plumbing fittings like shark bite fittings and PEX pipe. So completely different industry there. We have a company here in Huntsville, just right down the road from the college, called LP Building Solutions, and they manufacture like pressed wood and building supplies at the commercial level. And then out of Birmingham, we have a company called Camtech who participates in our chapter, and they manufacture automotive products, more for Mercedes, I think, and maybe even Nissan. I could be misquoting that. There's another company that manufactures bed sheets. That's their primary product. So they're in textiles, and they also now have become a manufacturer of PPE, so the face masks that everybody is having to wear. So as you can see, it's a huge variety, and there's other companies. I'm not talking about all of them because we have about like 13 now that are a part of our chapter. So there's an opportunity for students to even ahead of time look at what those companies do and try to figure out maybe which one would be the best fit for them, so that when the candidates go through that draft process, they can kind of voice their opinion and say, hey, I'd really like to work at RWC, or man, I'd really like to work for Jack Daniel Cooperage. And sometimes that their say so, it plays a factor into which company offers them a job. Now, these companies, when they sponsor a student, they're not responsible for paying for their tuition and fees. So that is also something that's very different from a registered apprenticeship. They are, however, required to provide the student with 24 hours of work experience and pay them a minimum dollar amount. And that minimum dollar amount has been set by our chapter, by our companies, and by the college as a group. And the way that we come up with that dollar amount for our chapter in particular, it's $14.16 an hour. I hope it might be 17 cents an hour, but we're saying that that is the minimum dollar amount that an employer can pay one of the FAME AMTs. Now, some of ours pay $18 an hour. They're each different, and it just depends on the company. The reason why we have that minimum dollar amount set is that's a number that we calculated. We looked at what it costs to take our mechatronics associate's degree here at Wallace State. We looked at the tuition, the fees, the books, the supplies that the student would need. We also looked what it would cost for them to, say, live on campus, what it would cost for them to have a meal plan here on campus. So we factored in all of that together, and we took the total number of hours that a FAME AMT is required to work in the program, which it's 1,776 hours. So that's that 24 hours a week for 5 semesters. And after you calculate that up and you divide that total cost by that 1,776, you come up with that $14 and change. And so what we're telling the students and their parents and counselors and things is that if someone is sponsored in this program, technically they have an opportunity to graduate from this program debt-free. If they're wise with their budgeting and their money choices, they will take that money that they make while they're working and use that to pay for their tuition and fees. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't apply for Pell Grants and scholarships and all of that, because all of that can just stack on top. This is just, then it'll just be money in their pocket that I hope that they save. But our students, they have a real opportunity here to graduate without having to take out a student loan or have college debt, which is, I'm a big believer in that. I wish that I had something like that when I was in college myself. And not all of our students have the opportunity to qualify for Pell and different things like that. So this is a way, like I said, for them to move through the program and maybe not accumulate debt. So that's huge. The other cool thing about the program is that selection process I talked about, that's taking place in May. So that means that usually around July 1, they're ready to enter the workforce. So they actually start working before they're ever a college student here. That means that they have July and part of August. In some cases, they even get to start in June. All that money that they earn ahead of time, it's setting them up for success. They can take those funds and use that and apply it towards their fall tuition. All of the students who apply for this program are also going to be encouraged, obviously to complete their FAFSA, because that particular application is going to help us determine all kinds of other funding that they may qualify for, like things like WIOA funding or their ITA account, or their employer may even qualify for on-the-job training funds. And so that's why we need for them to complete that. So as a counselor, as a career coach at the high school level, I would strongly encourage you to not only have your students be thinking about applying for college, but also help guide them through that FAFSA application if you can, or connect them someone here at the college, because that is so, so important. This particular program for us at Wallace State, because Wallace State is a DOL ALAMAT project grant recipient, we have other funds after the student, becomes an official Wallace State student, that they, may have access to as well. So that's just even more money that they could apply towards their books, or if they need to purchase a laptop, or maybe it's supportive services that help them with their gas money or childcare or whatever it may be. So I just want you to be able to share that information with your students, because I would hate for someone to think, well, I can't do this because I can't afford to go to college. That's definitely not the case. There's so much funding out there, and we're happy to help you and your students figure out a way to access those funds. So the FAME program itself, like I said, 5 semesters long in school, and they are considered full-time college students. They're working 3 days a week. The work is matching up to what they're learning in school. We have fabulous instructors down in our program, which is Mr. Jerry Merckx, Mr. Dean Autry, and then Mr. James McKenzie. And so our faculty that work in our mechatronics department, the top notch. They have industry experience. Students love them. So this is a great, great place for them. And the students in these programs, because they're in a cohort, our first cohort, I think we have 11 in that one right now. And then our new cohort, we have 15. They move through all these classes together while they're here. So they form almost like friendships, because none of them knew each other before. They all came from different high schools. Some of them had graduated a few years before. And so because they're moving through as a cohort, they really, they kind of have each other's backs. We tell them, stay on top of each other. If somebody starts struggling with their grades, if somebody's having problems with attendance, that, we're counting on you guys to kind of coach each other through that too. While they're in this program, the stakes are really high. Just because they became eligible and got accepted doesn't mean that they're going to stay in the program. You, as a FAME AMT, have to maintain a C or better in every single class that you take, including your gen ed classes like math and English. They also have very strict attendance guidelines. We structure this program just like what you would see if you worked in a manufacturing environment. They're on a point system. So they're only allowed to accumulate 3 points a semester, and a point would equal, missing a day. So they can't show up late. They can't be leaving early and missing class whenever they want to. They're held at a different standard. They have to show up 15 minutes or more earlier for class each day. That's a big deal. That's hard for me to do. So kudos to all of our FAME AMTs, because I know this is hard, but it's going to pay off for them in the end. When you're working in a position like this full time, these students, when they graduate college, they could easily find themselves in a position somewhere making $40,000 a year or higher, and they've already accumulated almost 2 years of work experience. I mean, they could be making even more than that. So that's a huge opportunity for anybody who completes this program. Seeing FAME on a resume, it speaks a lot to the businesses and the industry that we have in our area. Now, the students themselves, like I said, we have 2 AMTs on the call, and I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves to you. So they're going to tell you who they are and share with you a little bit about their experience with the FAME program and what they think about it, because what they say is way better than what I can tell you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our 2 AMTs. We have Alan and Stephanie on. So if you guys want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves and give your commitment and tell them a little bit about FAME.
Okay. My name is Alan Castro. My personal safety commitment is I'll always be aware of my surroundings at home and in the workplace, and I'm sponsored by RWC. Like Christina said, she touched on a lot of the main points of everything. The thing that I like most about the FAME program, given that I want to pursue maintenance, is that with the FAME program, what we learn here is reinforced with projects at work. So it kind of helps hands-on from school and at work, kind of makes things a little bit more understandable. And like she was saying about the cohort itself, we build more than a friendship. It's more like a small family. We end up doing everything together. We have each other's numbers, so if anybody needs any help or anything, they're usually one call away, and so far everyone seems to be open to whatever we need as far as help or just even talking to somebody. That's what I love about FAME. It's just a family environment.
My name is Stephanie Laura. My personal safety commitment is to prevent any potential hazards at work or in the lab. The thing I like about FAME is, like what Christina said, it's not only about getting an associate's degree in maintenance, but also hands-on with like welding and machinery. And I mean, that helps a lot in the workplace because you're not just going to get hired to just, fix a machine. You're also going to get hired, if someone needs like to weld a part. I mean, you already know how to do it. And I mean, teachers here, they're really cool. They're really awesome. They teach you a lot actually, and they teach you more than what the actual course is to give you a better idea. And they'll do everything from labs to textbook work just to figure out, just make sure you have it down and everything.
Well, I just realized that I failed to give my safety commitment. That's not good. If I were a student, I would be in big trouble. So, my personal safety commitment is to always ensure that Wallace State students wear the appropriate PPE when conducting industry visits. Obviously, in these crazy times that we're in, we haven't been conducting industry visits like we normally would, but those safety commitments that the AMTs gave you and that I have, that's a big piece of the FAME program itself. The students really are being taught to embrace safety in the workplace, and so they come up with these safety commitments in the very first semester that they're a student. And that is the proper way to introduce yourself. If you're a FAME AMT, you give your name, you make sure the person at the other side of the room can hear you clearly, and you give your safety commitment. Each morning, the FAME AMTs, they come into class and they conduct a safety discussion. So they all stand in a circle and they talk about different kinds of safety issues that you might encounter in the workplace. And this is one of those special things about the FAME program that makes it unique. They're learning how to, function as a team. They're learning how to communicate effectively. Those who have problems with public speaking, guess what? This is like right in their face training every single day that they're here. They do things like this where they go with us to the high schools and speak to students. And so there's a lot of other things outside of the technical skills that they're gaining in this program. We call them professional behaviors, and it's things like communication, teamwork, time management, integrity in the workplace, leadership. All of those things are built into this program. So they get a lot of extra stuff that the average student who is taking the mechatronics program aren't necessarily going to receive as far as training goes. So this particular opportunity for our students, I think, is one that I wish we had in every single program here at Wallace State, and that's obviously a goal that we're working towards. I'd love to see the FAME program spill over into machining, into welding, into diesel mechanics, into business. I mean, it's a model that I think is very transparent, and it makes sense to have programs like this rather than just having a basic little internship or something. So these students that you see on the call today, they're both out of our first cohort, and Alan and Stephanie are excellent students. We've had no difficulties with either one of them with attendance or with their grades. They just do a fantastic job. And so I know that, even if these students choose not to stay with the employer who has sponsored them while they're in the program, that's okay. When they graduate, they have the option to go elsewhere, just like their employer is not obligated to keep them on full time. So this is only a commitment that lasts while they're here in college. But the hope is that their employer would extend them a full-time offer if they have that position available. If not, then my goodness, look at what they're going to have on their resume. They're going to have that almost 2 years of experience, an associate's degree, all kinds of activities and things that they've participated in. And I mean, you can just tell by hearing them speak. I mean, Stephanie just graduated high school, last year, and already they're more comfortable with speaking in front of people and sharing their experience. It's such a wonderful program. So if you're on the call and you are a counselor, or you're a faculty member at a school, or you're a career coach or something like that, please think of those students who come to you and are not sure what they want to do, but maybe they fit kind of what I was describing earlier in our call. They like to troubleshoot. They like to problem solve. Maybe they're pretty good with math. They're better at working with their hands. even if they're a student who struggles right now with public speaking and they're a little shy and quiet, that's okay. This program's going to open them up. I promise. They're not going to have no choice. um, but it's a good thing. And plus, they have folks like me and like Bethany here at the college who serve as mentors to them outside of their faculty. So that's also just such a great thing for young folks who are trying to enter the workforce. I thought about putting PowerPoint presentation with this today, but I feel like if this is something that you need more information on, you can reach out to Miss Bethany, who put this presentation together today, or myself at the college, and we'll come to you. If you want us to come and speak to your entire senior class, if you want us to come and speak just to a select group of students that you think might be interested, whatever you want us to do, we're more than happy to come. We'll bring the AMTs with us and let them interact with your students. And they can also reach out to us and we can talk to them on the phone. I know it's kind of weird, and so your school may not allow visitors at this time, but we're more than happy to do that because our application is about to be opened back up. And people who are seniors in high school or have already graduated can go ahead and start applying for our next cohort, which would begin working in the summer. So this is the time to be thinking about it. And any questions that you have, I am happy to share a PowerPoint presentation if you want to communicate that to your students. But we can pass all that information along so that you feel prepared to talk about it. We really appreciate everyone who could join the session today. And thank you so much, Alan and Stephanie, for sharing your experience. We appreciate that. You guys did great. And we look forward to hearing from some of you and hope we get to see some of your students.